What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the Philly Sports Power Hour. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We got some beautiful weather over the weekend, so not too bad. I know some of you tuned in to 97.5 The Fanatic. Check me out over there. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the Power Hour crew here this morning. For those of you who are just checking out the show for the first time, well, we are live every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., simulcast across the JAKIB Sports Network as well as Bill Colarulo Philly Sports Talk. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're watching, and appreciate you being here. But a lot of news to talk about because the last time we spoke on Friday, the Eagles didn't have their backup quarterback yet. The Eagles didn't have a restructured Josh Sweat. So we're going to get into all of that today. We'll take a look at some of the updated cap numbers, what that could mean going forward now. What are the Eagles' next moves? Who should they take care of inside their building? And then I want to do a little Sixers, a little Flyers, and if we have time, we'll get into a little Phillies talk today as well. So an exciting time to be a Philadelphia sports fan. Sixers are in a playoff push. Flyers are in a playoff push. We're going to talk about the Sixers a little bit later, but finally, some good news about Joel Embiid. Maybe I'm stretching for it, but it appears to me some good news that he is ramping up to make a return. So we'll get into all of it. But let's get a little roll call here in the chat. I see Rob at Temple. Good morning. Rob, let's just talk about Temple real quick. Big win in the semifinals over Florida Atlantic. 14.5-point underdogs. We all had crazy visions of grandeur that they were going to go into the semis and beat the finals and beat UAB. Doesn't happen. For those of you who don't know, I did my law school at Temple, so always root for the Temple Owls, and I think everybody in Philly roots for the Temple Owls. But now March Madness is officially here. The brackets are out. Everybody's getting their brackets in. I still got to do mine. But good morning, Rob at Temple. Good morning, Wine Niners Wine. My man. Always reminding everybody to hit that like button, follow, subscribe, check me out on The Fanatic. My man, my cheerleader, Wine Niners Wine. Appreciate you. David Laprati in the house. Thaddeus, 1117. Flexing and stepping. Who else we got here? Bry Guy, Crawley, Decoy Gaming, Soul Vein, Eagles fan, Twiz, Steven, Kyle, Robert, Fran, Barbara Carroll, Mike Fittery. We got them all. Kevin Savard, Daquan Barkley. I love the new name, my man. And we got people checking in on TikTok as well. So good to see everybody. Appreciate everybody here. And look, let's jump right in. Talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. So the first thing we could talk about, because I see you in the chat talking about the Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields move. Now, Barbara Carroll asked the question, why did Justin Fields refuse to come here? I haven't seen that reported. I saw it reported that the Philadelphia Eagles spoke to the Chicago Bears. They speak to everybody, and they thought the price was too high to make a move for Justin Fields. I didn't see that Fields didn't want to go to Philly, but maybe I'm missing something. But if he did say that, well, I think it's obvious why he wouldn't want to come here. He's the clear-cut backup here. He's not going to play over just Jalen Hurts. So I don't think that's weird at all, Barbara Carroll. Why would Justin Fields want to come to Philadelphia when he is guaranteed to be the backup? The Steelers aren't paying Russell Wilson a lot of money. All of Russell Wilson's money is coming from the Denver Broncos. So he is going to compete for a starting job in Pittsburgh. He has a shot to start over Russell Wilson. He has zero shot to start over Jalen Hurts. So I don't find it weird at all if it was in fact true that Justin Fields wouldn't want to come to Philadelphia. But let's look at that move, because I know a lot of fans were saying Justin Fields would have been a better pick than Kenny Pickett. I disagree. I like the move of bringing Kenny Pickett here for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, every team in the league had a chance to make that trade with Chicago for Justin Fields. And I know they spoke with Justin Fields, and Chicago allegedly helped get him to a team he wanted to go to. But if there was a team that was willing to give them more than a 6th-round draft pick, they would have made that trade. There were no teams out there that were willing to give up more than what the Steelers gave up. That in of itself should tell you a lot about Justin Fields. It should tell you a lot about what the NFL thinks of Justin Fields. He just got traded for a 6th-round draft pick. And there are a lot of teams out there that are a lot more quarterback needy than the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are teams that don't even have a starting quarterback on their roster right now, and they didn't make the trade for Justin Fields. So I said this over the weekend on the radio. Only in Philadelphia, though, are we freaking out and debating over the backup quarterback position and who the Eagles should have traded for. But I think you need to look at a couple of things here, both on the field and the contracts, to understand why it would not have been a smart move to make the trade for Justin Fields. First of all, on the field, what has Justin Fields done in his career? What has he done in his career that all of us, or not all of us, I should say, some of us are freaking out that the Eagles didn't make the trade for Justin Fields? What has he done that we're going to now lose our minds that the Philadelphia Eagles didn't trade for Justin Fields? What has he done? It's a name. See, that's where fans lose their minds. They see the name. Oh, well, Justin Fields, 1st-round draft pick. He's had some highlight reels. That's what Justin Fields has done, highlight reels, because of his running ability. At times, he has done some incredible things at times, but it has never translated to winning. He's 10-28 in his career. I know a lot of that could be the supporting cast in Chicago, but he's also just not a very good quarterback. But when you look at the contracts, it made 0 sense. And this is the part that I try to explain here. We dive into contracts a lot. We look at cap hits a lot. This is why it would have made 0 sense to make the trade for Justin Fields. He is entering the 4th year of his rookie contract. That means it's the final year of his deal. He was a draft pick in 2021. He was a 1st-round pick, which means he comes with a 5th-year option. But you have to exercise his 5th-year option by May 2nd of this year. And I see people disagreeing with me about what Fields did on the field in the chat. But listen to the contract, and you tell me why it would have been a smart move. Justin Fields is entering the final year of his rookie deal. For the Eagles to control his rights for 2 seasons, they would have had to exercise his 5th-year option May 2nd of this year. That 5th-year option, because of playing time and where he was drafted, is going to be around $25 million. There is no way in hell the Philadelphia Eagles would exercise his 5th-year option before this May, before ever seeing him play, before him doing anything. So basically, you would have had him here just for this coming season. So it doesn't make any sense when you don't control his rights. So why would you trade for a backup quarterback that you don't control his rights at all after this coming season? But what the Eagles did is they traded for Kenny Pickett. He was drafted a year after Justin Fields, which means he's still on his rookie deal for 2 more seasons. And he's only going to cost about $4.35 million, 4.6, I think. 4.6 million over the next 2 years. So by trading for Kenny Pickett, as opposed to trading for Justin Fields, you now have a guy who can compete for your backup quarterback position and you control his rights for the next 2 seasons. You didn't have that with Justin Fields. If you traded for Justin Fields, he was gone after 2024. No matter what happened, he was gone because you can't exercise that $25 million option this coming offseason. You just can't do it. And then you look at them on and off the field. I don't think Kenny Pickett's a great quarterback. I don't think Justin Fields is a great quarterback. But the whole point of a backup quarterback is to be able to step in if your starter gets hurt and have the ability to win 1 or 2 games. Kenny Pickett in his career is 14-10. Justin Fields is 10-28. So if we need a quarterback to come in and win a game or 2, I trust Kenny Pickett more than I trust Justin Fields. And outside of a few highlight reels, I still haven't heard what Justin Fields has done in his career that people are losing their minds that the Eagles didn't make that trade. Still haven't heard a thing. And we also have to clear something up. I've heard a lot of fans, well, the Eagles gave up a 3rd-round draft pick for Kenny Pickett. No, they didn't. You have to look at the overall deal. Although they traded a 3rd-round draft pick, it was the 98th overall pick. They got back from Pittsburgh the 120th overall pick. So all they gave up for Kenny Pickett was they moved down the draft board 22 spots, and they gave up 2 7th-round picks in next year's draft. That's nothing. They did not give up a 3rd-round draft pick. This is what I get frustrated about when I see fans on Twitter or calling up on the radio. They gave up a 3rd-round draft pick. No, they did not. They moved 22 spots down. And I also see the argument that Justin Fields is similar to Jalen Hurts in the style of offense they run. Well, it may surprise you that Kenny Pickett also has the ability to run a lot of RPO-type plays. He did a lot of that. So this was a smart move. You picked up a backup quarterback for a lot cheaper than what you were paying Marcus Mariota last season. And now you have a guy that you can control for the next 2 seasons, and all you did was move down the draft board 22 spots and gave up 2 7th-round picks. If you would have traded for Justin Fields, you do not control his rights after this coming season. It didn't make any sense to me why fans were freaking out about the Justin Fields trade to Pittsburgh. Doesn't make sense. So I'm just looking in on TikTok, too, to see what we got going on here. But that didn't make sense to me. But let's take a look at some other moves that the Eagles made. Oh, let me say one more thing about the whole Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields move. I am also not buying the narrative that the reason the Eagles didn't trade for Justin Fields was because they didn't want a Carson Wentz situation with Jalen Hurts. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, they didn't trade for Justin Fields because, they don't want to mess with Jalen Hurts' psyche like Carson Wentz. It makes 0 sense. If I'm Jalen Hurts, I am not threatened at all by Justin Fields coming in here. And if you needed any more evidence about what the NFL thinks about Justin Fields, just look at the fact that he just got traded for a 6th-round draft pick when every single damn team in the league, some without a starting quarterback, didn't make the trade, and it's a 6th-round draft pick. Justin Fields isn't a good quarterback. We have to stop with this crap. Every freaking name we hear, it's because it's a big name, everybody loses. Oh, Justin Fields, you should have got him. He stinks. Anyway, Justin Fields. So now we'll see what happens in Pittsburgh with him competing with another quarterback with a big name who stinks, Russell Wilson. So we'll see what shakes. I see Coach 220 checking in on TikTok saying he believes Justin Fields is a good quarterback. He's just been on a bad team. Derek says Justin Fields is a fine quarterback. He had absolutely nothing in Chicago. Look, maybe it'll prove me wrong. Maybe he goes to a team with better coaching, with better weapons, and he can perform. But here's the problem. Like I just said, there are teams in this league who need a quarterback more than Pittsburgh, more than the Eagles, and they were not willing to give up a 6th-round draft pick for Justin Fields. That should tell you everything you need to know about how he's viewed in this league. So we can move on because I'm sick and tired of talking about the backup quarterback position for the Philadelphia Eagles and who they should have traded for. Kenny Pickett, in my opinion, decent move. Look, I know that all of us have these memories of 2017, and Carson Wentz goes down, Nick Foles comes in, leads us to a Super Bowl. That is so unlikely for a backup quarterback to be able to do. You may never see it again. So if Jalen Hurts was to get hurt for an extended period of time, I don't care who our backup was. They're not going to do what Nick Foles did. That is so unlikely. Nick Foles played out of his mind that postseason. The point of the backup quarterback is if Jalen gets nicked up and needs to miss a couple of games, like what happened back in 2022 when they went to Super Bowl 57, the point of a backup is they should be able to come in and win 1 or 2 games while your starter is out. Minshew couldn't do that. And not because of Minshew. I think that Quez Watkins was the reason they lost a couple of those games. But your backup should come in, be able to win 1 or 2 games, keep the season headed in the right direction. And Pickett is capable of that. I'm hoping we never find out. I'm hoping we never find out if Kenny Pickett wins games in an Eagles uniform. But he's capable of it. That's the point. So I'm done with the Justin Fields conversation. I think the Eagles made the better move bringing in Pickett than bringing in Fields. Anyway, let's look at some of the other things they did since we spoke on Friday. They signed 49ers linebacker Oren Burks to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal, 28 years old, mostly a special teams player, also played for Green Bay. So we'll see what he can do on this team. Not a big move, not going to move the needle, but you do need depth. You do need special teams players. Look, we learned firsthand in 2022, as good as that team was, they were great on offense. They were great on defense. They were terrible on special teams, came back to haunt them in Super Bowl 57. Last year, they bounced back in a big way, and the one thing you could say was a positive last season was their special teams unit. So like that move, bringing in a guy who's a special teamer, but not getting excited that he's going to fix our linebacker woes. So they do that. The other big news that comes out on Friday, Josh Sweat agrees to a restructured deal to stay in Philadelphia. Hold on. I got to just go back. There's a question on TikTok here from, can't read his name, Yuri. Do you believe Tomlin will get Fields enough on-field action for him to develop into a wide receiver? No. I do not think Justin Fields is going to turn into a wide receiver. I think he will remain at quarterback. I don't think they're going to convert him to a wide receiver. What else we got? Animal Kingdom. Pickett better than Fields. Come on, bro. Are you agreeing with me, Animal Kingdom, that Pickett's better, or are you disagreeing? And I'm not saying that Pickett is necessarily a better quarterback. What I'm saying is for your backup quarterback, for what you now pay Pickett for the next 2 seasons was a smarter move than bringing in Justin Fields. All right, moving on. So they restructured Josh Sweat, getting him to stay here. This move surprised me because the last I had heard was that Josh Sweat was definitely going to be traded. Now, what I think happened, and I did reach out to a few people, my understanding is Josh Sweat was entering the final year of his deal with the Eagles. Any trade to a new team would have come with a new contract from that team. No team was going to trade for Josh Sweat, who's in the final year of his deal, if he did not agree to a new contract. So the problem was what Josh Sweat wanted in a new contract, no team was willing to give him. So what Sweat then decided to do was he comes back to the Eagles on a restructured deal, not an extension. So we're still waiting for the final details of this restructured deal, but it's not an extension. So he's still in the final year of his contract. He's still only, what's Sweat, 26 years old, or is he 27 now? Let's see. He's 26, but he will turn 27 at the end of the month. So Josh Sweat's still only 27 years old. So he restructures his deal. He gets a little bit more guaranteed money. I kind of want to see the final details because maybe it actually frees up some cap space for the Eagles because his cap hit was $9 million. Depending on how they structured it, it could lower that cap hit. But in essence now, this is a prove-it deal for Josh Sweat because he comes back. It's the final year of his deal. If he performs well, he gets another shot at free agency this coming offseason. So it's kind of a win-win. The Eagles get Josh Sweat back. He's going to be playing hard because he needs to prove himself because he wants that shot at free agency this coming offseason to see if he can get the money he wanted this offseason. There were no takers. No team was going to trade for Josh Sweat and give him the deal he wanted. So that's why I think things switched because the last I had heard, he was definitely going to be traded. But once he gave his salary demands to the new teams, nobody wanted to give him that money. So now Sweat is back. So what does this mean now? What does this mean for Haason Reddick? Because I was under the impression that the plan was going to be trade Josh Sweat, extend Reddick. Well, now Sweat's coming back. So now you look at that edge rusher position. You still have Josh Sweat. They just signed Bryce Huff to a 3-year, $51 million deal. You brought back Brandon Graham. I know he's not going to play a lot, but he's going to make this team, obviously. You still have Nolan Smith, who I still think the Eagles are very high on, as they should be. It was only his rookie season. So you have Nolan Smith. They brought in Julian Aquara from the Detroit Lions earlier in the offseason before free agency hit. No guarantee he makes the team, but he's another edge rusher. And this most recent signing, linebacker Zach Bond, also has the ability to get after the quarterback. I expect him to play a similar role to what Andrew Van Ginkel played under Vic Fangio in Miami. So is there enough room for Reddick when you have Huff, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Julian Aquara, Zach Bond? Now, no guarantees Aquara or even Bond make the roster. But is there enough room for Haason Reddick? Now, here's the major difference because I see in the chat people saying, do the same thing for Reddick that you just did for Sweat. The only difference is Sweat was willing to do that. Sweat was willing to restructure his deal to come here on essentially a prove-it deal because he's only going to be 27. So he's going to hit free agency this coming offseason after the 2024 season at 27 years old. Haason Reddick's 30. When does Reddick turn 31? Because Haason Reddick's going to be a little bit more reluctant. He needs his big money deal now. Well, he's 29, so he will be 30 September. So when the season starts, Reddick will be 30. So when he hits free agency, he'll be 30 years old. So is a team going to be willing to give him the big money deal he wants? So if I'm Reddick, I'm trying to strike this season. So my understanding, though, is Reddick's contract demands are still extremely high. I think the Eagles would like to bring him back. But if Reddick goes out there and another team isn't willing to give him the big money deal that he wants, maybe he comes back to the Eagles and says, look, I'll be willing to take this. Because right now he's underpaid. I think everybody agrees Haason Reddick is severely underpaid. He makes $15 million a year. They just gave Bryce Huff more than $15 million a year. So not only was Reddick underpaid before the cap went up, now that the cap went way up, Reddick is really underpaid. I think he deserves $20 million a year, maybe even a little bit more, maybe $21 million a year. But I think Reddick probably wants to be paid over $25 million a year. And I don't think there's a team out there that's willing to give it to him. So if that is the case, can they work something out? But here's where the issue lies. If they bring back Reddick, if they don't extend him, because people are saying do what he did with Josh Sweat, if you only bring back Reddick on essentially a prove-it deal, and you brought back Josh Sweat on essentially a prove-it deal, and now you brought in Bryce Huff, and you want to give Nolan Smith more playing time, and you got Brandon Graham, how happy are Josh Sweat and Haason Reddick going to be here when they're in a prove-it year to get their new contract and they're not playing as many snaps or as many reps as they have in previous years? See, that's where problems can happen. I've had people ask me the question about, well, what about Saquon Barkley on that offense? How are they going to make everybody happy on the offense? There's only one football. But the difference is Barkley already got his big deal. A.J. Brown already got his big deal. Devontae Smith will get his big deal, which I want to talk about after the break. So I'm not as worried about those guys being happy because they already got their money. But if you bring back Sweat like you did on a prove-it deal, and you brought back Reddick on a similar prove-it deal, how happy are they going to be when they're not getting the amount of reps they need to earn that big payday this offseason? So the only way I see Reddick coming back is if they agree to an extension. I don't think Reddick's going to want a prove-it type deal like Josh Sweat just had. Now, I will go on record as saying I want him back. I want that type of depth on the edge because we saw it last year when Sweat and Reddick both played over 800 snaps. They hit that wall. So keep Haason Reddick, extend him, and now I love the depth. I love that we're going to be rotating through Reddick, Huff, Sweat, Nolan Smith, BG. That should really help them get after the quarterback. But when we get back, you heard me just mention Devontae Smith, because he's a guy that needs to get paid. So I want to take a look at the current cap space situation because Howie Roseman, we've talked about this before. We can debate what he does in the draft. We can debate what he does when it comes to player evaluation, but he is a master when it comes to the salary cap. So I'll give you the updated cap numbers about where the Eagles are and what I think that could mean for Devontae Smith. I also want to get into a little Sixers, a little Flyers as well. This is the Philly Sports Power Hour. I'm Bill Colarulo. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.